go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Charline, and this is Matthew over here.
God's gift, baby. What's good? We got a special guest in the building today, ladies and gentlemen. We got my boy that we're catching up with today, DJ Bander, in the house.
Yeah.
My boy is a producer, remixer, DJ, investor, just to name a few things.
My goodness, he's got it going on.
Oh, yeah, his catalog is pretty
Multiple
stacked.
streams of income, just like I like it.
Oh, yeah, he's got his hand in a whole lot of different pots. What's going on with you, fam?
Appreciate that. Everything's good. Nice to be here. Thank you both.
Welcome to Lunch with the Finance Bunch.
Love it.
Oh, yeah, we were joking when we were, before we started filming, and Char said that she was going to be a DJ in her former past life. And what name did you come up
In
with?
my new life, hello.
Oh, you out here living your best life?
DJ Sexy Char, and y'all shot that down.
Yeah, I don't know about all of that. Banner said DJ Brunch. I think we'll mess with that.
Okay.
You know.
So it's DJ Brunch from the Finance Bunch?
That's it.
Exactly. You could be hosting all the brunch parties, sipping mimosas.
Oh, I like that.
I like
I learned
Bellinis.
Bellinis, yeah. Who's going to teach me how to use the board?
Oh, I don't know about that. I have no. That's the all.
Why did
DJ
everybody
Bander
get
right
silent? There's 3 people in here that know how to use that board, and no one said volunteered.
Oh, we'll make it happen.
That's
Q,
okay.
I think Q's on that. He's got it.
Exactly. We're going to have to shine a light on Q one time.
Don't believe it, folks. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. They don't want to teach me. That's okay.
That's hilarious.
I'll just stay here and be beautiful.
Oh, that's cool. Well, this is your first time on the show, Bander, and so we wanted to know just a little bit about you. So can you give us like an introduction to, I guess, who you are?
Sure. So my my background, I'm originally from New York. Been out in LA for a while though. But my background is all things music. I play piano since I was a little boy, classically trained, jazz trained specifically. And I was just telling Q earlier before we started, I grew up in the sort of like the African drum circles of Brooklyn because my mother played drums and a lot of her friends played as well.
Nice.
that's what's up.
So rhythm and melody was obviously very quintessential to the roots of my music career. I went to a traditional school called Berkeley Carroll in Brooklyn, where I studied, jazz compositional training. And originally, when I was young, I didn't really foresee as much of a future of myself in music. When I came out to California, I finished high school out here, and I met a composer, a guy named Emanuele, who was actually a professor at the school. And he taught me all about music production, the equipment, the studio gear.
Oh, nice.
And it really opened my eyes. And it's the first time I saw his studio and pressed a few buttons, I was like, I have to do this.
Nice.
This is the life for me.
For real, I'm gonna be in here for a few hours.
So I would say that really got me on the start,
Oh man.
Now, you
that's
said
dope.
you're from New York. You're from Brooklyn.
I am.
And I'm from New
Brooklyn
York,
in
too.
the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah. And so when you first moved to California, I always ask people this, especially when they move as teenagers or adults. What was that change like for you?
It was a difficult adjustment.
Was it?
Like a little bit of like a culture shock.
It was a culture shock. There were parts of me that were always connected to California because my mother is actually originally from San Diego.
Oh, okay.
So I had seen the Pacific as a child, and I had a lot of fond memories of it. But being out here full time was a different story.
Yes.
I missed my friends. I had, at that point in my life, I already had social roots in New York. And I found that the cultural style adjustment, to take some time. In hindsight, it was the best move for me in my career coming out to California. But it took many years. I would say it took over a decade for me to realize that. I think I was, there was a whole period of time, like on Facebook when it shows six years ago today, 8 years ago today, the memories.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'd have all these status that I'd see like, oh, can't wait I'll be moving back to New York in no time. Y'all ain't ready to see me. I'm taking all my LA ventures back east. I'm about to be in the city, and those never came to fruition, and I'm couldn't be happier being out here.
That's cool.
So yeah,
Well, it's dope because now it's almost like you got the best of both worlds. You know what I'm saying?
totally,
That's dope. Man.
totally.
Oh man! So one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, because I know that you've been doing the whole DJ thing for a long time, and you're a producer. So, random question: how does a DJ affect you as a producer, or help you as a producer?
No, that's a great question. Well, the first thing that's important to realize is that DJing for me was something that actually came later. Okay. I was a producer and composer first and foremost, and as I started developing it, some people got into my ear when I was at music school, being like, "Do you know how to DJ? You might want to try that out too." And what I realized was actually I originally just used the DJ before the bander to kind of like solidify my brand and lock down my SEO. You know, I really wanted to kind of, you know, control that name and that artistry. And so what the DJing allowed me more than, obviously it's great. You know, I've done a lot of festivals. That's all been really fun. But DJing, I think it gives you an ability to not only understand a range of music, as a DJ has to be versed in a catalog of different artists, but it also kind of gives you an ability to create mix shows as well. And it allows you to create a more fuller experience, especially if you create original music.
Dope.
You know, you can turn what would be like, you know, sending these different songs out to different people, you know, and to different DJs, and then you can create your own show yourself. So in that sense, I think it gives you a comprehensive package for your sound.
Oh yeah.
You know,
like your own complete stamp.
Exactly.
Right?
It's pretty much like, I just look at it as a well-rounded way of being a producer. So if I had to put it in order, I would say I'm a composer first, a producer second, and a DJ third.
That makes total sense. And then
Yeah.
for that, it seems like, I mean, you have an ear for just about everything then, and you're able to kind of put that all together.
Appreciate that. I try to look at it like that, you know?
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's super dope.
How did you get your first break in music?
Good question. So my first break in music came actually for when I made the decision to come back out from New York the second time, because I had moved back after high school for several years, and I went to Musicians Institute.
Nice.
And at the time, I didn't see it leading to a lot. I enjoyed the school. I saw, you know, I made some contacts there. But I actually met this kid in music theory class who was working copyright at Bug Digital. He was just the dude stamping papers, making sure that the C had the circle around it.
Right.
Real basic stuff. And he was like, you know, it's really a long shot, but there's this guy named Gary Velletri. He's the VP of Bug Digital, which at the time was part of Sony Red.
Right.
You know, and you've got this little EP you put together. You know, maybe I can submit it to him, and you know, I don't know, maybe you'll get some opportunities from it. And crazy enough, he sent it to Gary. I had submitted music to him previously, but you know, when you submit music from the outside, it's very different than that inside lane.
And they can be getting so much music that, you know, gets lost in the
It's
shuffle.
lost in the shuffle. You're just a CD on the stack.
Right.
So a couple days later, after he did this, I get a call back from Frank, and he's like, they're going to give you a full label deal. You're going to get your own label. Bander Productions is going to go major on Bug Digital, and he wants to see your first release within the next 60 days.
And you're like, what?
Yeah. So all of a sudden, you know, I had this outlet, and you know, it led to a lot of other opportunities just from there. So that would be I would say the first big break.
But it sounds like you were prepared for it, prepared for the opportunity. Were you?
I think I was decently prepared. I would say though that the contacts that I made from that deal actually prepared me even more for doing mainstream opportunities, because from that I gained the connection to somebody who later did a lot of management for me, a guy named Craig Roseberry. He represents actually Yoko Ono in the Beatles catalog.
Oh, nice.
And I met Craig because of the Bug Digital deal. And that led me to opportunities where I was able to actually get on Billboard releases and have remixes on some major things that actually charted. So, yes, I was in a good situation for it, but I actually think that opportunity made me more professional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was wondering, because, you know, like a lot of our listeners, they are people who want to know how to get into an industry, or they want to know how they can excel in an industry. And
For sure.
sometimes people think this overnight success really is overnight success, and it's not.
No,
it's
it's
stepping
definitely not.
stones to success, and you got to work hard to get there.
Absolutely. You got to work hard, and you also have to focus and be honest with yourself more than anyone else. Like, you cannot be in denial of your weaknesses, because it's easy to focus on strengths. Your fans and your friends and your family, you know, for the most part, will always gas up your strengths. But you have to tell yourself, okay, what do I need to improve the most to make me more professional? And I was really blessed that I had this guy I mentioned, Craig Roseberry, in my life, because his personality is the type where he will cut right into you right away and be like, okay, you know what? You're really feeling yourself and all that, and your beats are cool, but here's what you're not good at. You don't arrange vocals tight enough.
He has no time for the beat.
He's like, you need to work a little bit more on your mix downs, this and that. And that's how he got into my ear. And so I think, you know, really understanding your craft, and I was talking about this earlier with Q actually, in the sense that, you know, a lot of these new kids coming up don't have, you know, a real sort of rounded rounded about music theory training.
Right.
And I would
Absolutely.
say that's what separated me the most, that I went to music school and that I took the basics seriously. You know, when I owe a lot of that to my mother, because she was the one
Shout
who
out to
said,
Mom.
Shout out to Mom.
Shout out to Mom.
Shelly in San Diego.
Shelly, we love you.
We love you, Shelly.
She always told me, you know, it was funny when at first I was much more into just I wanted to do the studio stuff and I wanted to play my drum set. And to me in the beginning, playing the piano was like, oh, that's what my mom told me to do on Sundays, you know, an hour of training on Sundays. And in hindsight, the best thing she ever could do for me, because everybody else didn't push me the way she did for it. She always would tell me, this is going to take you to the next level. This is going to make you a really successful musician, is being great at piano and being great at melody. And my mother was actually a professor in sociology, but she always had this sort of hobby of music.
Yes.
And she knew the importance of it, and she knew enough about it to, you know, always be in my ear like, this is crucial. Your training is crucial.
Wow. And you listened.
Of course. Gotta
The
listen
dope
to
part about
moms.
that is
Yeah.
like, outside of just being able to perform music, you actually have a music ear and know how to compose and understand the language of music.
For sure. Yeah, and that's important because when you're working with artists, you know, as an engineer or a composer or whatever you're doing for them, your ability to help them, to bring them to the next level and elevate them is going to have a big part to do with your overall musical skill sets.
Right.
You know, it's not just about making the beats, it's about understanding the music as a whole.
Wow. So do you think that today's youth, or the people who are interested in music today, I know they get a lot of help from technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you think it would be best for them to like learn the basics too?
Well, absolutely, because you know, it's funny. I discuss this a lot. There's a lot of things that, you know, the new version. I love Logic Pro, Logic 10. It can do so many amazing things. You know, the flex tool for your vocals. You know, so a little bit of quantizing. But at the end of the day, what's gonna make your music stand out and be professional is your ability to tackle a few major, important, crucial things: songwriting, arrangement, and composition. Like at the end of the day, if your bass line doesn't sit into the right key compared to the piano parts and the synth parts, it's not going to be hot. You can have all the sounds, all of the equipment, everything. It's not going to sound great because the software cannot do that for you. It cannot replace musicality.
Okay.
It's only able to basically elevate what skill sets you already have and save you some time from these things or that. You know, instead of having to make every hi-hat perfect, it can do that for you. But at the end of the day, you still got to know what kind of a hi-hat pattern sounds good.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You know, you can't,
Absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? And so that at the end of the day comes to individual. So, you know, a lot of people, especially people who are very ignorant to music production, when I'm at family parties, and they're like, so you make like computer music? I mean, what is that exactly? The computer makes the music? And I just try to explain to them, it's basically, you know, it's really not any different than how John Williams worked and all these guys back in the day, except instead of having to do one take on a tape, you know, it's endless and it's infinite. It saves time, but it doesn't replace the skills needed to make the art happen.
Wow, got it.
Absolutely.
Got it. Oh, we're getting a lot of jewels here today.
I'm trying to bring the gems.
I will be
for y'all.
sitting everybody at my house like, have a seat.
Listen to
You get
this.
course.
Right? Man, now you have a full business though.
I do.
A complete business. How did you and why did you put that together? Because you have more than one entity and you've made it like this umbrella company that hosts a lot. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, you know, I have a couple different main businesses that are related as far as from my perspective, but from the outside really aren't. So I have my music production company, which is Bander Productions.
Right.
And I see it as a full service music boutique company in Venice. You know, I offer recording services, mixing and mastering, original beat production, as well as distribution and arrangement for artists. And this has served me well because the reality is, as a musician today, on the music side, the monetization, a lot of it comes from both services
Yes.
and licensing,
Absolutely.
less than record sales. So to be successful on a monetary level in music, you know, you really can't just be the artist, or
That's
you'll be
right.
the cliche starving artist.
That's
It's
right.
like you've got to offer things that are year round and are always needed. You
That's
know,
right.
your music is not every release you're going to do is going to pop. Not every remix you're going to do is going to be as good as the other one. But I can offer sound engineering, mixing and arranging year round to artists that need it.
Yes.
So that's why I focus on the business side because, and then on top of obviously being a nice, thing for income, it allows for continued networking. It allows for continued arranging, and it keeps your sound fresh because you're always working with these new people and you're focusing on the competition as well. So your allies are also your competition.
Dope.
And so, so on that side, that's my music production business. And then I also am involved in real estate as well.
Right.
So I have a commercial real estate business that I'm partners with my sister in.
Nice.
And, that I have been doing for a long time. I do have a business background. I studied that at Redlands University.
Smart man.
Yeah. And, and what I always tell people is, you earn, and there's lots of money to be earned in music, but the most important thing is to always put that money to work into something, and
music to my ear.
Yes, you have to work and you have to save, and then you have to figure out what you're going to do with that. And as far as the real estate business, I just had really good timing getting it off the ground. I started it during like the end of 2008.
Oh, that was perfect timing.
Yeah, and I originally
Now you're speaking her language over here.
yeah, and no, my original investments were actually abandoned warehouse spaces in downtown LA that I picked up that kind of had vacated during 2008, 2009, and now they're full, and some of them are warehouses, and some of them have actually been retrofitted to be like export business spaces. So there's a lot of opportunities in there, and it's a division of real estate that I feel like a lot of people don't have a lot of
knowledge
education and knowledge of. When people think real estate, they think flipping homes and doing all this stuff, which is more power to people that are successful at that. I'm not in the residential world. That's there's a lot of stuff for me to learn on that sense, but I feel like for me, I found a nice niche with industrial space.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I
Well,
feel like
when
that's a mini gold mine right there.
It is, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about that. This is Charline,
And this is God's Gift Matthew.
and we're on Dash Talk Radio, Lunch with the Finance Bunch, and we'll be right back. And we're back on Lunch with the Finance Bunch here on Dash Talk Radio, and we are in the studio with DJ Bander.
And I'm telling you, we got so many questions from my man. The next follow-up question that we had, because we've been having such a good conversation, is, as a DJ, how do you make sure that you don't get caught up in just listening or playing music that you like and give a platform for a different variety of music?
Yeah, that's a good question. I find that what I do the most is I keep younger people around me, and I keep people that come from different backgrounds, and I like to work with them in my business. So, for example, I'm working with a new young producer. Give him a shout out, Million Beats. He's a really cool kid. He's actually from Ukraine.
Oh, dope!
And he's very much. He's not as much on the compositional side, but he's really great with drum programming and bass programming. So we work together. We actually have a mixtape that's coming out the next couple months. So look out for that. And he's always putting me onto different music and bringing me stuff that I can throw into my, cutting room floor and put it to my mix show that's come from a different background. So I think, I love to study the Beatport charts. I study all the EDM charts when I'm looking through stuff. And then I always try to be open to what other people are listening to in my life, and try to incorporate that. And it's, not only from a DJing perspective is that important, but from a production side.
Absolutely.
Because it's very true what you're saying. Not only can your DJing start getting into a rut, and you can start kind of spinning the stuff that sounds all the same, but your production can also get into a rut.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you can start using sounds, and your stuff starts getting very linear. And so I think it's very important to learn to step out of your comfort zone. And the most crucial thing to being successful in music, is to say, I don't know everything. I know a lot, but there's always something else that if I was to know from someone else would improve my craft.
Absolutely.
And if you can really humble yourself and stay in that frame of mind, the sky's the limit.
I believe that. Now, that is true and that transcends not just the music industry, but all industries, really.
100%.
Because I keep young people around me, and they keep me going. I have to learn different things, social media, all kind of stuff, and they push me and push me and push me. And if I didn't, you can get stuck in your comfort rut, is what I call it.
Very true.
And that is not good for any type of business.
No, not at all. Especially when that business isn't working anymore and you need to adjust. You always have to be a constant evolution of yourself.
Exactly. Now, that brings up another topic, internet and music. What has that done to or for your business?
Well, it's a very interesting question. You know, a lot of people have been like, well, you know, the internet, everybody downloads music for free. It's killed the music industry. You know, I disagree. Yes, it's true. You know, I was talking about this with Q. Like, I miss the days when we would go into Tower Records and you've been waiting all month for this music to drop.
That's exactly
and
how
there's
I
that
am.
CD that you want, and it's like right there, and it's got the shiny plastic, and it's like, oh, it happens to be on sale, and you know, oh wow, $13.99. You know, and at the time that might have been a lot for the average consumer, but that was good for musicians because that's what an album really was worth. Like,
Absolutely.
you really deserve that amount. And yeah,
Do you think they need to go back to that?
I think I think
one album, we ain't putting it on iTunes. You gotta come here to get it.
it's a great point. I think that if it was possible to do that, you know, but some things like getting the genie back in the bottle is hard to do. I think the better way to think about it is adapt. I think the most successful people in life adapt. And like how I learned to adapt is like, all right, you know what? Cool. Y'all want to download my music and not pay me? Cool. Check it out. I'm gonna give my music away. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna filter and you're gonna become, to get that, if you want a lot of my music to be for free, cool. The only way you're gonna get it is to go directly to my social media channels, and that's what I'm gonna monetize.
Yes.
So cool, you wanna rob me my music, cool, but you're still gonna pay attention to me, and you're gonna focus on what I have to tell you on my social media if you are a fan of me and you support me, which I appreciate. And I'm gonna use that as the tool to monetize.
Yes.
So, you know, I have an ambassadorship with Yamaha Music, and I was with Verizon and these different companies. And so I think where the industry has changed is, yes, the music is kind of almost like just given away, but what's happening is the social media stars themselves, the artists themselves, we're becoming like the new TV channel, like a new radio station.
I believe
It's funny because
that.
I was just having a conversation.
Yeah, and companies are
about
paying us. You know, let's say you're Verizon. They were going to spend $1 million on a campaign to get a new product out. Well, guess what? They can spend $250,000 or $100,000 on a bunch of social media ambassadors like me, and they can prove through science that the metrics are the same or better.
That's right.
So we're really it reverses the pyramid of finances in the sense of the corporate structure.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And you just have to, like I said, you just have to adapt. And if you do, you really can see, you know, that you could actually probably do better if you're successful at doing that social media. Like, ask Kanye, ask Kim Kardashian if they're mad that nobody's buying their records in Tower Records no more.
That's
I bet
right.
they're not. You know what I'm saying? So that's just proof that, you know, adjusting and understanding how to master yourself as a brand, that's all it comes down to.
Mastering the brand. And that transcends time.
Agreed.
You can master a brand, right?
Absolutely.
Because now it's digital. What's next? That's the thing. What do you
look
think
at
is
look
next?
at 50. Look at 50.
Right.
I mean, this dude has, like, you know, I was having jokes with my mans the other night because I was like, man, 50's become like, he's like a blog star now. Dude's like
Hashtag
posting,
get the strap.
get the strap, like, and you know what? We can clown and have jokes, and like, you know, that's a whole different conversation as of what he's doing. But at the end of the day, he adjusted. He's
That's
adjusting.
right. Yes.
We're watching his adjustment take place right before our eyes. So you can't knock dude because
That's right.
he's showing where his lane is. Guess what? His lane is not in putting records out no more.
That's right.
And he's not he ain't falling off and getting all mad about that. He's just adjusting and switching up. Be like, all right, cool. You know what? Well, I got a character, I got a profile, and I've got all of these followers that I had from my music. I'm still gonna monetize. I'm still gonna eat. So that's how it go right there.
Exactly. And he's been able to just diversify himself, getting so many sponsors. And two, it's almost like he's even more popular now without doing the music. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying, dude.
And he hasn't dropped a record in God knows how long. And the only time he's really releasing music now is through his other platforms like Power.
Exactly.
You know, so it's bananas, the way the world is going. But definitely making adjustments. But I can't lie, like even me, I'm a young 30, but it was a hard adjustment for me with music because it was funny because I was having a conversation with my boy literally just a week ago, and I'm still conditioned to buy CDs. Like I love, like Amoeba Records is right down the street from here, and I plan on going there a little bit later on.
One of the last great stores.
You know?
Right.
Just to check out some of the vinyl albums, see some of the new merch and like stuff that they got. But you know, I still like the grassroots brick and mortar stores, low key.
Oh, that's awesome, man. There's nothing wrong with being from that generation. I mean, this is one other thought that I was talking about earlier, which is that, you know, one thing that's so incredible about, you know, people, I think especially in LA, people get caught up in it's a youth culture. It's a culture that, you know, glorifies youth and casts doubt on age.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think the thing is that personally, I'm so happy being the generation that I am. And I'm so at peace with the age that I am, because one thing that I understand is that I come from a time, I want to give a shout out to my girl Aretha, rest in peace. She passed today. And it just reminded me, you know what? There's so many of these young kids coming up making beats. They don't know nothing about that time or the composition, going back to what I discussed earlier, that was involved in some of these great songs that she made and other artists of her time.
Absolutely.
And so, a lot of it is like, so there's a glorification of these youth, but especially doing what I do, having the business that I do, being from the older generation where you had to really actually understand musicality, that has only worked to secure the position that I'm in today. So I think if there's one piece of advice that I could give to young artists coming up is learn from your older artist mentors, and know that you too will be their age. And the most important thing is, are you going to have the same skill sets and understanding of musicality when you're their age? Because to be refined, takes effort. It's like anything else. You have to work for it. It ain't going. You can't get handed that. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I think the overall message here is that you're saying hone your craft, know your craft, study your craft, know the history of your craft,
100%.
right? And get into it on more than one level, because if you don't, you won't survive.
You won't survive, but more importantly than anything, also enjoy yourself, enjoy the art, enjoy the quest for knowledge. I think that, we live in a time where like everything is, you can Google everything, quick answers. I think it's important. People should, get some books. I recommend Confessions of a Music Producer. It's a book that I read, before everything was Googled out. When we actually picked up books to study our craft, and learn all sides and learn the business side. You know what I'm saying? Because people are going to take advantage, of you all the time in this industry. I can't tell you how many times people have, and get things in writing. Get things in writing. Yes. Don't send out music to people you don't know. Don't, just send out your beats on a hope and on a whim that something's going to pan out. When you see these people on Instagram saying, emailing beats, send Young Thugger beats, to this email address. That's not going to get you where you need to go. What's going to get you there is networking and demanding contracts and agreements so you're protected.
Yeah, because if it's not written down, it didn't happen.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and if both people didn't sign, it didn't happen.
Yep, and more people need to understand that, because
That's right.
you get a lot of young talent taken advantage of out here in modern society.
Because they just want to be so creative, and especially, they want to get their music heard on the radio or in mainstream world. Of course. And so it's like, especially a starving artist, they'll do any and everything to do that. And so a lot of them are signing their rights away in order just to get their music heard.
Yes, try to hold on to your masters. That's,
you bring up a great point, and I heard someone say years ago that a lot of times artists give their rights to their music away because they don't know who they will be. They only know who they are today.
It's a really
and
great
so
point.
You have to really project and think, who am I really? I'm not the person standing here today. I'm who I'm going to be. So I need to protect him or her, right? And so, you have to own your masters. I don't care what people tell you, you have to own them. And even I know that, and I'm not in the music industry.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the points that I actually wanted to ask you when you were talking about it was, for you, how did you learn like the business model of how the record labels do contracts and stuff like that? Because I know a lot of times as creative people, you're not on the corporate side. And so a lot of times it's like, it takes a lot of artists to get burned initially in order to learn the business. So how did it work for you?
Well, again, I'm thankful to my guy in New York, Craig Roseberry, who I run things by him. And he's taught me a lot over the years. And listen, the most important thing is to be able to tell yourself and be honest with yourself when somebody drops an opportunity or contract saying, you know what? I don't have all the answers. I don't know. I know, I know real estate and I know music. I don't know everything about entertainment law. I'm not an entertainment lawyer. Right. So I don't pretend to be an entertainment lawyer. When I get to a point where I have a question, I ask. Don't sign before you ask. It's okay. Let me tell you something. If somebody tells you if you don't do something right now, if you wait a week, it ain't gonna happen. You don't have time to call your lawyer. You don't have time to do that. Trust me, there's something fishy right there.
Wrong.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Nobody who really is serious about your craft and wants to help you and build your brand and help you in your movement is gonna get weird because you want to ask one or two questions to a lawyer. Like, that's ridiculous. And I hear that all the time. I've been approached with that. I'd be like, oh no. You got to ask, I've emailed or I've gotten crickets after being like, oh, I'm just going to run this by my management in New York. That already told me that they didn't have my interest in mind.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
You already know that they wasn't looking out for you because they reacted that way. Anybody who really, is serious about you is going to be like, yeah, do your thing. You know what I'm saying? Please get back to me in a timely manner. That should be the response you hear. And so ask questions, and do get yourself, do have at least a contact for an entertainment lawyer.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That you can reach out to in the, when you get contracts, for sure.
And I agree with you there. A lot of times we delve into the part of businesses that we don't understand and we don't seek professional help. And professionals can help, and that's what they're there for. Totally there for. So don't run out just because you think it's a great idea or you get this contract in your hand and you're like, wow, and you see all these zeros, right? And you don't read the fine print and you don't know what the fine print says. When you do read it, get a professional in to help you.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Oh my God, you are just dropping so many jewels today.
Well,
I'm
thank
just
you.
excited about you being here.
And
Thank
for
you
you,
so
I
much.
know the reason why, but why is it so important for you to own your masters and your publishing?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, the biggest reason is because on a revenue side, the money comes in long term from the publishing. A lot of times what happens is that artists get caught up. They get this flashy little advance. And this comes down to money management. A lot of artists get even big dollars, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. But people don't understand. 500,000 can become zero so fast
quickly.
You would not believe.
That's
it can
right.
also become 2, 3, 4 million if you play your cards right. But the
Absolutely.
choice is on you. There's no guarantee that that's going to happen. And what happens is, unfortunately, a lot of artists, so many artists, the way they get taken advantage of by these big labels is because 500,000 ain't nothing for Capitol Records
At all.
It ain't.
That's a drop in the bucket.
That's just a cool little lick. They're not tripping on that. So what happens is they'll give 500K to somebody who doesn't know much. They've never seen that kind of money before.
Right.
And they think because they've got 500K in their check-in, they're set for life. They have financial ignorance and they take advantage of that. And then what they're doing on the back end is they're keeping the publishing and the masters to themselves. So that 500K, eventually that artist, they burn through it. If they're smart, they invest it. But trust me, in the long run, even that 500K is going to be nothing. If you have hit after hit and you're killing it, the real money is going to be in the long term with those masters, because when that album gets played, when BMI records or ASCAP
right.
records that it's being played on Sirius Radio, or wherever, or here on Dash,
That's right.
that's a check. And if you don't have the masters, you're missing out on that check, or you're getting some sort of, BS little part of it that was in the contract. So that's why it's really important, to understand that.
And there's nothing more important than those checks showing up.
Exactly.
Because they
Yes.
literally show up.
Especially ones that you're not accounting for at all.
And if you do, and listen, and if you do get in a situation where maybe you made the wrong deal and you got that advance, cool. Do not keep that kind of money in your bank account. Put it into a brokerage account and have it professionally managed. You will get income from it and live off the income. Always live off interest, never live off principles. The basic rules of wealth.
It's funny, and it's a quick example. $4 million. People think, $4 million is a lot of money. What do? They run out and they buy things that don't. It's not an investment.
It's only a lot of money if it's invested.
Right.
Because the thing is that people's spending always ends up matching what's in front of them. People, you can try to say you won't do that. You can try to put away and stuff like that. It's very hard to do. That's why what's in your bank should just basically be what you need to survive.
That's right.
And everything else should either be in some sort of a smart real estate or a business investment, or it should be in a brokerage account that preferably is being managed by someone, unless you have an expertise in it. I mean, I'm in the stock game and I do manage my own money in my brokerage account, but only some of it. The rest I have managed by a professional.
Exactly.
Because I know I don't know all the answers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have a master's, in business and stock. I know a lot about business. So it's okay to go to the professionals too,
Exactly. And when we come back, we're going to talk about his different business entities that he's invested in. What were the best things you invested in? What were the worst? Let's talk about that when we come back.
Let's do it.
I'm Charline.
Absolutely. And this is God's Gift Matt, and we're with our boy DJ Bander in the building today.
And we'll be right back. This is Charline.
And this is God's Gift Matthew, and you're tuned into Dash Radio right now. And we're back with our boy DJ Bander in the building today. So the next question that we wanted to ask, because we were talking about different businesses and investments, is for you, what have been good investments and what have been bad business investments that you got a chance to see both sides of?
Well, for sure. I mean, I've been lucky in which I have made good investments and bad. Luckily, the good ones have been much more money than the bad ones. So the good investments that I made was investing into downtown LA in the warehouse space, and in the commercial space in downtown. Thus far has been a really good investment for me. And like I always tell people who are investing, if possible, if you're able to, always invest in things that have very little debt. Most of my investments downtown have no debt. So that way in recessions, you always want to save money. The way you stay on top of real estate is you save money when times are good, so that when you lose tenants in a recession, you have a cushion.
That's right.
To keep your income flow where it is.
That's right.
And by having properties that have very little debt, you lower the risk of having, owing all this money to the bank when you're not getting a lot of rent flow.
Gotcha.
So that's one thing that I've done well with, and I've been smart about making those choices and decisions. On the negative side, I have invested in some sort of long shot stock picks that didn't pan out for me yet. Doesn't mean that they won't at some point. That there's picks that I'm down on those picks. I've invested into sort of the up and coming, some of the cannabis spaces. I've invested into telecommunications and applications that I haven't, like they said, the thing that's important to understand with stocks is you haven't lost any money until you sell.
That's right.
So even though these positions are low and
That's right.
and on a cost basis they're in the red, the money is not gone because I could wake up one morning and one of these businesses gets monetized, and then
That's
I'll be
right.
coming back and telling me how much I made on that one opportunity. So I think the key is investing the bulk of your money in safe things. Don't say like 80%. Should be low risk. And then, depending on your risk tolerance, 10, 20% you can take more chance with, obviously we've seen, celebrities and superstars do really well. It just came out that Kobe Bryant, he put $6 million into a sport drinks, and now it's worth like almost 200 M's. And, look, that was a long shot. He might have been hurt if he had lost 6, but when you look at his overall portfolio of cash, he's chilling with, we're talking somebody who's worth well over 100 million already. So he's still going to be able to afford his lifestyle even if that 6 disappeared. So he was smart. He had the bulk of it invested in conservative, smart stuff, and he was like, I'll take a little 5 or 6 million based on my net. I can afford that, and it going on a long shot, and it panned out.
Absolutely.
So that's what's really it comes down to is risk tolerance.
Exactly, because like you said, Kobe could invest $6 million in that and say, well, if I lose it, I lose it. It was a little burn, but it's not, devastating, right? So, but $6 million to someone else, they got $8 million, they invest 6, they get burned, now they're down to 2, and that might not sound bad, but it is if your lifestyle is above what you're making, and there are millionaires who are living paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean,
So-
a big thing that people do when they get a lot of money, and there's a big thing, is they start buying houses like in cash, and that's a huge mistake. You want to hold on to your cash.
That's right.
You
Cash
wanna,
is king.
Yeah, exactly. You want your cash, and not in the bank. You want to hold on to it, invested in safe things like bonds and treasuries that give you income but that are relatively stable. And then if you want to borrow, if you want to buy things like houses, if you can afford them, you borrow from the bank and let the bank finance it, and you pay down, because at the end of the day, then you have a paid off house and you still have your cash.
Absolutely.
Still have your
That's what's really important. And a lot of celebrities, you see one day you look up their celebrity net worth and it's like 30, 40 million. And then a few years later, you look at it and it's like 4 or 5. What happened? Well, what happened is they used their liquidity to buy properties and stuff that they shouldn't have done. And now they're property rich, but they're cash poor.
Exactly.
And they're in this situation where something goes south, the economy takes a turn.
Yes.
Now they're scared. They don't want to sell these houses because they've lost money on all of them.
That's
so,
right.
So they're scrambling to try to figure it out. So it amazes me. I mean, there's been times when I've always almost wanted to start up an investment boutique firm
Yes.
for celebrities.
You might want to think about doing
Yes.
that.
Because I just
We
see
can
it.
join forces.
I would love it, because honestly, it drives me crazy. I mean, it blows my mind the amount of cash that some people have, and it disappears because they just weren't smart with it. Like Iverson and these different guys.
Well, you know what? Here's something that I saw one day, and it just
Side
made
note,
me.
ladies and gentlemen, I think we officially have the 3rd member of the Finance Brunch.
Yes. You know what? a few years ago, I was watching this reality show, and I saw this person get in a helicopter to go look at properties. They land at a property and they spend $12 million on the property.
Right.
That wasn't a bad thing. They wrote a check, cash.
Exactly.
I'm like, are you crazy? Why would you do that?
And I
with $10 million, do you know what you could have invested that in?
Absolutely.
And
Having
the
all your
interest
money tied to
on
one
the
bill.
investment would have paid the mortgage. Hello?
Absolutely. And one reason why I really like to speak about these matters is because what I see happening is a real crisis of financial understanding in culture.
Yes.
Like, you've got artists, I'm a fan. I'm not trying to knock her, but like Cardi B, okay? I see Cardi posted how her and Quavo copped, 2 matching Lambos cash and flaunting that she did it out of her checking. Like, the fact that
She had that much money in
Well,
her
the fact that that's something that she feels she's got to prove. Like,
Yeah.
she's got to prove that she didn't lease these cars, that they were purchased. Let me explain something. Always lease.
That's right.
Why buy a depreciating asset?
Right.
Okay, just give me an example. She spent $500,000. She shows her checking that she wrote $500,000 for that Lambo. Now she's got a depreciating asset, and the $500,000 is gone.
Absolutely.
If she had bought, here's a stock ticker for your listeners. PCQ. Okay, it's PIMCO. Okay, Bill Gross, one of my favorite investors. Okay, it's a mortgage-backed security bond fund.
Yes.
If you put $500,000 into PCQ, first of all, it's tax-free. You pay no
right.
taxes on the income from it. You make $4,400 per month for the rest of your life with that money. That will
you.
lease you 2 Lambos. And when you're
Exactly.
bored of them Lambos, you get 2 more Lambos.
Right.
And meanwhile, you got extra income and you got your $500K. And if it appreciates and the economy continues to grow, that $500K might be worth $650 or $700 in those PCQs, which you can always sell. So what we need to do is we need to try to change the direction of the culture and
Yes.
understand that, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on jewelry and chains and Lamborghinis, it's not something to be proud of. It's not impressive. Like, I'm much more
Absolutely.
impressed with the person who has investments, like Rick Ross, who bought up all them Wingstops. Smart guy.
Shout out to Lemon Pepper, by the way.
Lemon Pepper. Okay. He's getting that lemon pepper flow on the first is coming into Rick Ross, and he can lease all the cars that he wants. And like, what difference does it make? So I think that's really important I had to state that because I really feel like I'm seeing this happen all the time. I'm
Over and
seeing,
over again.
especially on World Star, all of these cash purchases, and I'm just like, what is happening? All of these kids, these little pumps, these different guys. Okay, you pick 10 of these new artists that are getting all this cash. I'll bet it right now. I'll put my word on it. 60 to 70% of them will be broke.
Absolutely.
In 8 to 10 years.
Completely
Yes.
flatline.
Flatlined. You'll be hearing all about them. Their labels will be bankrupt. Because the reality is that kind of spending behavior, that's not how you become wealthy. Trust me.
Exactly. And
Really
you can't
not.
sustain it. And they're only doing it because they're hot right now. They're not thinking of the longevity of 5 years, 10 years from now.
They're thinking these bags are going to come in like that forever. It's just not the way it works, unfortunately, even for the hottest young artists.
So for me, that's my frustration also. And Matthew can tell you that I go on rants about this stuff. And that's one of the reasons I start this show, right?
Love it.
And so my other frustration is that they don't listen. They don't
Absolutely.
listen. Like, who will they listen to?
I call
Because-
it intentional ignorance.
Absolutely.
They're like, okay, I heard you, Ma. And then what they tell me is, okay, yeah, you're right. I heard you, Ma. You absolutely right. And then what do? They go down and still buy that car. They still make that big purchase, and they go, okay, when I get hit with the next lump of money, I'm gonna do it then. But no, then they buying the rings and the jewelry and and they get all cut up in all of this flash, and then they have no cash.
And this is the thing. You remember, people who are coming up as young entrepreneurs, you have nothing to prove to anybody else. The only person who needs to know about your money is you, the man above, and your broker. That's
right.
it.
Absolutely.
You don't have
The
anything
Holy
to-
Trinity.
Stop trying to prove to everybody. And now look, I like to show a bit of my lifestyle and my brand on my social media.
course.
But at the end of the day, there's limits to it. I don't put private information out there like that. I don't put real numbers out there. I keep that on the low. You don't see me flashing cash in my stories. And
You don't
like
have a
that.
money phone?
I don't got the money. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The money phone. Like all this stuff. It's like it's just the wrong value set.
Yes.
And I think it needs to be spoken about because we entertainers, people who have followings, people on social media, you have a responsibility to do what you can to enlighten society.
Absolutely.
So that's
Because my thing about it is just like building a legacy. And I feel like if you're setting that much money on fire, what you're not realizing is like you're not building a legacy and you're not helping the next generation and also your immediate generation as far as your family. And you're not even teaching like, your children and stuff like that, how to save, how to invest, how to make money. All they see is a flash, and a lifestyle that you can't really upkeep for all those years.
And as much as I thank my mother for all of her encouragement, with my music, she wasn't always as smart with her finances, but my father was. And he, from a young age, taught me about live under your means. The first book that I read, I recommend this to everybody, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Absolutely.
It's
a
my
very
favorite.
Yes. And it teaches you a lot. And it's just like, live within your means, and start to be just as excited about seeing your accounts going up as you are about having to have that new shirt, that new jacket, those new kicks. It's like, get over that and get into the feeling of being like knowing like nobody else knows this, but I know that I got a lot of money invested and I can take care of my lady, my wife, my kids, whatever it may be. And I think that will make a huge change in people's life, and especially in this music industry, because of how, this is the thing. The corporations and the system, this is what they want. There's a reason why these credit card companies and everything are they don't want you to master these skills.
That's
Not at all.
right.
They want to keep you in the rat race.
They want you to like blow your cash and then get into credit card debt and over finance and over leverage, and you pay them interest payments. And so it's important to kind of, revolve around that and, educate yourself above the system.
I love it. Now, before we go any further, I definitely want you back.
Absolutely. I was waiting for that.
Definitely, you have to come back.
It'd be my honor to be
because
back.
maybe they'll listen to you.
I do
I have a hope and a prayer
I do what I
that they
can.
will listen to you. Because my dream, honestly, is to see all these young entrepreneurs, whether they're musicians or basketball players, because they're all entrepreneurs, whether they know it or not. They're walking corporations, right, that are billing billable dollars to some other entity, but they're not taking advantage of it. So my prayer, hope, dream is that at some point they get it.
Absolutely.
They get it. And like you said, they start making smart money moves. I love that line from her, Carly B, but I'm making money moves, but I want you to really make smart money moves.
Practice what you preach, Cardi.
Absolutely.
Right?
Practice what you preach,
Come on,
sweetheart.
girl.
I want to see you win on the money end. I really do. I really, really do.
Absolutely.
I love it.
So now we have to know, like, how do we contact you? How people can follow you on Instagram? What your social media handles are? All of that.
Where they can purchase your music,
Where they
all
can
that good
purchase your
stuff.
music.
I appreciate that. So, I love everybody to find me on the Instagram. I'm on that the most. It's DJ Bander, DJ BANDER. You can find me right now and hit me up. The link to my new stuff on Spotify is right there. I also have a website, djbander.com, djbander.com. And I look forward to hearing from everybody.
Oh my God, this has been such a pleasure. I am just in like a euphoric state right now.
And I'm speechless.
You guys are awesome.
So I want to thank you again for coming on the show. This has been amazing. The time has gone entire too quickly. I wish we had 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours.
We need like a 2-3 hour show for this, man. Because he's dropping so many
Absolutely.
jewels, so much knowledge. So I hope you guys are listening.
I hope you're listening, and promise me you'll come back.
Be my honor. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. This is Charlene
And this is God's Gift Matthew
on Lunch with the Finance Bunch.
with our special guest, DJ
Our
Bander.
special guest. And then next, we are here every Tuesday at noon.
Absolutely.
And we'd love for you to join us. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Lunch with the Finance Bunch. I'm your host, Miss Charlene, on Dash Talk Radio.
Tuesdays at noon. I'm God's Gift.